Siddhant, hi.
Hi.
I am from Patna, your neighbor. Hello.
बिल्कुल कैसी हैं
So
आप?
मैं बढ़िया हूँ. So just one question. I do follow you on Instagram. और मैं आपका सिट चैट भी फॉलो करती हूँ.
थैंक यू.
तो आपका मैं हिंदी में बात करूँगी और मैं चाहूँगी कि आप हिंदी में मुझे जवाब दें.
मैं तो वेट कर रहा हूँ कब से. मुझे नहीं पता है लोग समझ में आएगी नहीं.
मुझे हिंदी और संस्कृत का बहुत शौक है और मैं लिखती भी हूँ. तो जो हिंदी साहित्य के प्रति आपका रुझान है, मतलब मैं आज की जनरेशन में दो कैटेगरी देखें हम अगर, तो दो तरीके के लोग हैं. एक वो ऐसे लोग हैं जो हिंदी लिखते हैं, लेकिन जो एक कोड जो हिंदी साहित्य का जो एक जो ग्रामर होता है, जो व्याकरण होता है, आप उसको फॉलो करते हो. मतलब आप साहित्य के प्रति सच में आपका एक वो है, या फिर आपने ऐसे इन जनरल ऐसे सीखा है? क्योंकि जहाँ तक मैं आपको देखती हूँ आप काफ़ी डीप लिखते हो. कभी लोगों के बारे में, अपने बारे में, शायद अपने डीप थॉट के बारे में. मेरा पहला क्वेश्चन. दूसरा प्रश्न ये है कि एक जो सिद्धांत है, सो वो एक जब सिद्धांत अकेले में रात में अपने जब भी होता है, तो वो अपने वो कौन होता है? मतलब सिद्धांत कौन है? मतलब हम आपको इतनी सारे बहुत तरह के कैरेक्टर में देखते हैं, अलग अलग चीज़ों में देखते हैं. तो एक वो जो है जो अपने लिए रियल है, वो कौन है? सो
You know, I'm just going to add something before we thank you, Siddhant, for being here. I couldn't agree more, because for me, my friends and my family, my brother and my mother are the ones who keep me sane. They're the ones who have my back through everything. And I couldn't, your words resonated so much with me, because I know you said you're shy. I'm not as shy, usually. But the most important thing is having people who have your back unconditionally. Our team, the homegrown team who's worked, if we could, work their asses off to make this happen. They're my
Thank you
team
so
and
much.
these incredible loved ones as well. And thank you for making the time, for being here. This is my first moderation, and I hope I've done okay. I've tried, but thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for being here, and I really can't thank you enough. And thank you to your team as well. It means a lot, truly. Could we have a big round of applause for Siddhant, please?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vasha. Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you for being patient and listening to me. Yeah, that's all I have to say. And keep hustling, and you'll be there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Big round of applause for Siddhant, please.
Is a casting director and has done lovely works like Class and Mismatched. Panchami के लिए please जोरदार तालियां. Panchami के परिवार के लिए double तालियां. Last but not the least, we've got another panelist on the stage. नाम है इनका प्रिया सेठ. She is one of the most fine cinematographers जिनका काम हमने देखा है एलिफ जैसी फिल्मों में. Then there's Chef. There's this new film called Peepa, which is also sort of there out there. थोड़े बहुत सारी चीजें होती रहती हैं, but there's this one lady who's making sure that cinematographers do not have a gender. She's very, very big, huge friends with the underwater situation, because she does a lot of underwater filming as well. Can we please put our hands up together for Priya Seth, who's known as Shooter Seth, which I think is very, very cool on Instagram. Thank you so much. And we're gonna just dive into this conversation. So, yay. I'm not gonna be one of those MCs who say, "Taaliyan rukni nahi chahiye." No. Listen. जवाबें रुकनी नहीं चाहिए. कुछ सवाल हैं आप सबके लिए, and they are going to be specifically directed also, and some for all of you as well. The first question that I have is, ये फीमेल डायरेक्टर, फीमेल सिनेमाटोग्राफर, फीमेल लिरिसिस्ट, फीमेल एक्टर, एक्ट्रेस का इस्तेमाल नहीं होता आजकल. ये फीमेल शब्द जो है, has that sort of now done with it? So
as a lyricist, अच्छा काम करने आए हैं. सब अपनी कहानी बताने आए हैं, ना उसका जेंडर से ना चूतिया से कोई कनेक्शन.
खत्म हो गए हमें पैनल. सॉरी, आप सब घर जा सकते हैं. थैंक यू वेरी मच. नो, डोंट गो. लिसन, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन आई हैव इज for Riva Maya. You've worked for award-winning films, music videos. Is there a conscious effort in changing the way we do music videos?
So that हमारी जो स्टीरियोटाइप है वो चेंज हो जाए, और आपने वो भार लेके रखा है अपने शोल्डर्स पे कि भाई मैं तो समाज को बदल दूँ.
Is it okay if I start a little bit at the beginning of like why I became a filmmaker? Keep it short, but because it's really relevant to what you're saying. So I actually come from the slums of Bombay. I'm not going to do anything about it. And that really was the beginning point of why I became a filmmaker. And then I realized, okay, I know I want to do something about these things. What should be my medium of choice? And I looked at films, and people were watching films and copying hairstyles and copying ways of dressing and things like that. So it clearly had a lot of influence. It had this amazing capacity to incite empathy, and it's a really smart medium because you work really hard and make it once, and then it exists forever. So my decision to be a filmmaker didn't come from a sense of romanticism. It really came from a very logical and observational perspective. And I kind of started working towards being a filmmaker since I was in school. So during summer breaks, other kids would go on vacations and I would do direction workshops and screenwriting workshops and theatre workshops and stuff like that. So yes, the origin of why I want to be a filmmaker is definitely to make socially conscious cinema. But I don't believe there is only one form in which you can make that, right? It doesn't mean that you only make you also make intense art house. I'm talking specifically about music videos. I feel like not just music videos, even in advertising, it's always about finding a medium and still saying a little bit of what you want to say. They were just blasting Bazigar 2 minutes ago, which is Divine's song, incredible, and I did the music video for that. And one of the really interesting things that happened when people were doing reaction videos was they would see my matriarch sitting up on a pedestal, looking like a goddess, and this huge star going and, bowing to her. Was it like a conscious, I'm going to make a feminist remark? No, it came so naturally. It actually came out of a beautiful conversation between Divine and me. But is the impact a little bit significant? I would hope so.
There's so much to bring out and so much to share constantly. Panchami, my next question is specifically for you. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि अगर कोई ट्रांस वुमेन का कैरेक्टर है, लेस्बियन का कैरेक्टर है, तो
but we'd love for them to be a part of our movies, just to create opportunity for them as much as we do for other actors. So that's my stance on that.
I'm so glad that in a forum like this we're open to and they know it now. क्योंकि अब तक तो पता नहीं था. Thank you very much.
The underrepresented, and it may not always be fair to be like, okay, just merit for everyone, because especially for roles that have been written for marginalized communities, for a really long time they weren't given that platform at all. So they don't have the same kind of experience and exposure as someone who has been given that space all their life and has that much more experience. It's sometimes difficult to compare and equate that, and so you have to maybe put in that extra effort to workshop, or you need to, as writers and directors, write specifically for certain people, but I personally believe that because for so long their stories were not told, if we are going to capitalize on their...
Is there anything as a compliment which, it does not seem like a compliment, seems very back-ended to you, and you would want to get rid of that word altogether or that state?
That's not my name. No. You can call me what you want if it gives you joy. It's like Priya said, what you are saying to me, that is important.
So do you think that sort of triggers you, or you don't want to...
I think I started with one of my more triggering anecdotes. The other one was when a chief AC came to the set, found me and said, "You are AD, no? Who is the director?" And so, in a strangely contorted way, sort of having your crew give you respect on set becomes a little bit strong. So beyond the point, everyone is not as sensitized, and you need everyone to listen. So maybe being referred to as ma'am is helpful when you don't have enough time to really zone everybody in. So that's kind of a flip on that. But I wanted to say,
actors don't come into the room and speak to them, and we've created a very different atmosphere at my office, where any actor that comes to test can come in and say hello and introduce themselves. And I think that is something that I don't feel bad about. I'm happy that is being said, but I think that needs to change, because many steps to get to this point of speaking to a casting director. My very job is to interact with actors, so I think that requires a bit of a shift because of how it's been before versus what it is now.
Also, I think that now, and then we'll open the panel to all the people who are sitting over here. Through the lens through your pen. If there's anyone out there who wants to become a writer.
Very often is that today there's so much emphasis that seems to be placed on your social media positioning that a lot of actors today, more than working on their craft, their focus is on how do I increase my social media numbers. And this is a conversation that comes up in many interviews. And this is something that I personally, yes, it does trigger me. The idea that someone might be cast just because of social media numbers seems bizarre to me. But I will really say this to any aspiring actors if they're out there, that you have to still go down to the basics and work on your craft, which today I feel isn't happening or being taken seriously by people who want better work. You put yourself out there so much, you have to find time to also take in, and that's my idea of studying and homework and work on myself. Just because you might have done good work, you have to still sharpen your skills and your knife. I mean, call me old school, but I am a strong believer in one's craft taking you to places rather than anything else.
We do see a growth of representation in the artists and the creators, but I wanted to understand, because you guys are like part of the industry, and I wanted to understand what's the industry doing for media literacy for the audience, because there is I will make my art in my way from a marginalized group, right? But if my audience is not there to connect with it, right, with my message as a speaker, so I wanted to understand, is there a movement, or is there some kind of advancement for education for the audience, or for media literacy in the industry? Do you guys see it happening? Is there anyone doing it?
So there is a workshop.
That disconnect shouldn't rise, that disparity shouldn't rise between the creator and the audience.
Yep. Sure.
Sorry, I think the very purpose that you are trying to, and I'm going to put this to Reema, but I think...
Yes. So for it, right? So the only way to do it is for us to all support good art, good cinema in whatever different forms and meanings that is, and encourage more and more people to come and watch it, and only then I think will more audiences understand more and be open to better.
Believe that you're actually smart enough to understand my work, and I need to, so it becomes a little patronizing as well. So one has to be careful of talking down at the audience and saying that you definitely won't understand. Now let me give you a workshop so you can understand my work.
My point exactly wasn't to create specifically that, but it was more because I see critics, quote unquote young critics that are following that. Are there gatekeepers
that's a slightly separate conversation, because that's not audience, that's critics. And critics like I as a director have to be trained and have to have an education in it in whatever form. Critics also need to have an education.
And again, this question is mostly directed to Reema ma'am, but of course to all of you all. I think, when you were speaking about representation, it honestly does come down to equity and equality, right? How can we have a meritocracy when we know that everyone isn't starting at the same level? And the reason I ask you this is because I'm a performer and an actor with a disability. And last year I wanted to perform a play with characters that were disabled, and I looked and looked and looked and couldn't find anything. So I was like, you know what, never mind, I'm just going to write my own play, I'm going to perform it, I'm going to find a director, and I'm just going to do it. But I also understand the business aspect of it, where we don't necessarily have actors from marginalized communities who are, let's say, at par with actors who are able-bodied or from non-marginalized communities who would maybe pull in larger audiences. So how do you kind of find that sweet spot? Because, I mean, if we go back to when, white supremacy was a thing, white actors would play black roles. But today, you can't have a white actor play a black actor. In the same way, how can we have someone who is cisgender play someone who's trans, or someone who's able-bodied play someone who's disabled? Because your identity cannot be a characteristic. So how do you navigate that?
Thank you for that question.
I'm actually quite happy you said that movies have such a, they have the ability to, reach to the audience and I agree with it. I'm not into filmmaking, but I'm in the creative field, and I feel almost all creative areas have the ability to really, if they're true, then they'll reach the people. So my question is regarding this. When I was really young, when the movie Queen came out, I remember enjoying it so much. Even at the time, it was amazing. My mom, she told me about how the movie is from telling this woman's story. I was really young, but as I've grown up and I've gone to other different friend circles, I've changed friend circles. Never have I ever heard any guy say they don't like Queen, or they don't they don't identify with the character of Queen, despite her being a female. So I feel like a lot of times what happens is maybe people, in order to create something and have a statement in the movie, they sometimes sacrifice story, or sometimes they sacrifice, movies have to still entertain, and movies still have to be interesting. So sometimes they sacrifice in order to make a statement. I want to know how you feel about that, and do you agree, do you feel there is something, because when you watch a movie like Queen, everybody relates, and sometimes there are movies that people just don't connect with it. They have pure intentions, but people just don't relate with them, and then the directors become a little patronizing.
So I personally don't think that any film is good just because it's talking about an issue. It really is about what that story is, how it is crafted, the skill of it, the emotionality of it, all of that. So if anyone is coming from an entitled space of like, oh, you must appreciate my film because it's about, I don't know, like a poor girl from the slums. No. Is it a good story? Is it a good film? That's important.
Yes. Happy ending with Saif Ali Khan in it. Happy ending.
I haven't seen.
So, do you guys remember the film Happy Ending with Saif? उसमें एक बहुत deep dialogue था, जहाँ पे गोविंद has said this. He said 300 रुपए में audience को जिंदगी सिखाने मत जाओ. That's the thought, right? I think as an audience, even for me, I think all of us, when we watch a film, if I feel like someone's trying to teach me something, then I'm like, wait, why are you trying to teach me something? If, like she beautifully gave this example of the pebble, wherein when I'm immersed in a story and by the way I'm taking things away from it, that's the bonus. Yeah.
Change the world one story at a time, one person at a time.
If I had to not
से नहीं है. जिसको भी राइटर बनना है बहुत मुश्किल काम है, अकेले करना होता है, बहुत सीखना पड़ता है, खुद you have to be used to feedback, बहुत गाली सुननी पड़ती है, और पैसे नहीं है.
कोई राइटर्स लोन नहीं होता है बैंक में.
भाई राइटर को घर खरीदने का लोन नहीं मिलता, क्या बात कर रही हो.
रीमा, थैंक यू.